this radical left mayor de Blasio has let our beautiful diamond, I loved it. I left it 4 years ago. And over the last year, and especially over the last 6 months, crime has gone up hundreds of percentage points, hundreds. We're going to do something. We're going to do something strong. They've just let it go to hell. And I don't know, is it because they're bad people or they have no common sense or they just don't know what they're doing? But our beautiful diamond of this country has been let go to hell.
President Trump issuing an ultimatum to Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City, where there has been a staggering spike in violent crime. This weekend alone, more than 50-plus shooting victims and 7 fatalities. It's part of a disturbing trend. Already more than 1,000 shooting victims compared to more than 500 this time last year. And, of course, we're seeing this in cities all across the country. Cincinnati, Kansas City, all across the country. Portland are having huge problems. So joining me now, the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giulianni, host of the new podcast, Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense, joins me now. Mayor, great to have you with us this evening. I actually want to start by playing a quote, a soundbite that we have from Mayor de Blasio responding to President Trump, and then hear your thoughts on it.
The president blusters and the president tries to draw attention to himself and rarely has much to back it up.
What would you say to Mayor de Blasio, Mayor?
Mayor de Blasio is pathetic. He has there are times in which a public official can be so incompetent, and he is, that people actually die as a result of his being in office. And that's been the case with Mayor de Blasio, both during the pandemic and now with the irresponsible left-wing socialist actions that he's taken. He's driven by a ridiculously failed philosophy, which he somehow robs him of the ability to see reality. So how would you, in the middle of a crime wave, disband the most effective part of your police department, the anti-crime unit? How would you let 8,000 people out of prison during a period of time like that? Or not go crazy over the new bail law that he and Cuomo put into effect, so that all the rioters that were arrested were put back out on the street within a day. We've had people let out by him who within 1 day of getting out have raped somebody. He put 8,000 prisoners out on the street. He doesn't consider drug dealers violent criminals. So, you know, there's this great sympathy for the drug user who was treated harshly. But there's a difference between the drug user and the drug dealer. The drug dealer is by nature a violent criminal. They all own guns and they all shoot people. He puts both of them out on the street. If I had this city for 1 month, I could change it around in 1 single month. If I could be allowed to do what I had to do, and all of it would be legal. He is an idiot, he's an incompetent, and he's a communist.
You know, I have lived in New York and the New York area long enough to have seen it go up and down, and to see what happened when you were mayor, and to see how much better, how much safer the streets became then with the policies that were in place. But what we see now is, and I want to talk about the broader scene across the country as well. But what I'm wondering is, it seems like there's 2 different viewpoints of looking at this. And I don't think at the Democratic National Convention this week, we're going to hear much about what's happening in these cities. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't live in these cities who don't see it. They don't understand necessarily what is going on. But when I see it, and I see the boarded up windows, I see them here in Washington, D.C. behind me. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking what is happening. But there's so many people in the country, Mr. Mayor, who don't see it or aren't hearing about it.
Well, you know, Martha, I don't know any better way to describe it than it breaks my heart. I mean, I spent 8 years as mayor and 4 years preparing to be mayor, 12 years of my life, with the sole focus being how to reduce crime, which I was told could not be done. Was told it by my best friends that I shouldn't be mayor because I'd ruined my career by failing like people had failed 30 years prior to me. And I was convinced I could do it. I had very good police commissioners, Bratton Safer and Bernie Carrick. I had great programs from James Q. Wilson, the broken windows theory, which he did away with 4 years ago. Terrible mistake. He really isn't intellectually strong enough to understand it. I mean, you have to understand the man is limited. He is not that smart. He is a silly left-winger, meaning he went on his honeymoon to Cuba and he supported the Sandinistas. Now, if you're that silly, you really shouldn't be running a government. And in my view, and I know this is a very broad one, Democrats don't know how to run cities. They're too impractical. Every city you're talking about is a Democratic city. Chicago, even more murders than here. This weekend, it was a murder field in Chicago. Same thing with Philadelphia, with a district attorney a district attorney put in there by George Soros, who doesn't prosecute property crimes. Or you want to look at Atlanta? You want to look at some of the other Democrats?
Yeah, I want to show everybody this horrible video.
Is like
Look at this horrible video from Portland. It's just unbelievable. Watch what happened to this man. He gets pulled out of his truck.
This is a war.
He gets beaten, and then he's on the ground, and everybody walks away. They tell him he's not allowed to move, and then he gets roundhouse kicked by this guy in the head. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I can't understand why everybody in the country isn't talking about this. I can't understand it.
Yeah, and I can't understand why major American corporations are giving money to Black Lives Matter, which is run by 3 communists who are avowed terrorists. The money that they get comes from a terrorist named Susan Rosenberg, who was convicted and sent to prison for 58 years for being involved in a conspiracy to kill cops. She's funneling the money to them. If you just spend 10 minutes, Martha, and read what they stand for.
And it's not, it's not.
They stand for the end of our government.
And it's clear
if you watch
these founders, if you watch the founders you can pull up these videos very easy. They talk about their Marxist background. I was down in the street the other night, and there are people out there with Klansmen, a hung effigy of a Klansman, and it says that cops are Klansmen. And then right on the corner here in D.C. are 25 peaceful police officers standing there, protecting their right to do that. So, I mean, these are the things that people have to consider as we look ahead in this coming election and just decide, where they stand on it. So, Mayor Giuliani, final thought, sir, if you could.
My final thought is the president really should consider very carefully declaring Black Lives Matter a domestic terrorist organization. Just today, they had 4 or 5 beatings they took part in. They've been recorded saying that police officers should be murdered and killed. And one of their members just this weekend defended looting as people are entitled to do it because they have no bread. Of course, they were taking televisions. They were taking dresses.
Yeah, they said it was reparations.
They were taking liquor. They were basically engaged in stealing. So this is an illegal organization, and their intent is to overthrow our government. The president should declare them a domestic terrorist organization, and then maybe we could stop Soros from giving them $150 million. Soros is intent on destroying our government for some sick reason of his that goes back to his sick background.
Mr. Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, with his thoughts on all that tonight. Sir, thank you. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.